Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our first meeting for the school. First of all, it's can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Okay. First of all, I need a motion to start the meeting.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor? We're in session. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting of the school year, and would everybody please stand for the pledge? Like allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item I have. We have first item is correspondence. So we have 3 emails from community members. And then the second item we have on the agenda is the superintendent of school.
So good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. Those of you who are here tonight, and also those of you who are watching from home. We had a fantastic opening, despite the fact that it was extremely hot. We understand how hot it was. We know that the first day was probably the hottest day of the entire summer. But we want to thank our staff and our students and our families for kind of working together to make it the best opening we could possibly have. And it was a joyful opening as well. So for my report tonight, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to just do a little bit of around the district, talk about the wonderful things going on in the opening of the school year. We're going to do a construction update just to show you guys all of the unbelievable amounts of work that were done between the time we closed in June 30th to the time we opened here on the 7th. And then we're going to do a small presentation of the board goals for 23-24. And those board goals are focused on using the study that we did last year, where we surveyed parents, students, faculty, and staff, and did focus groups to kind of assess how do people experience our schools and how do they want to experience our schools in the future. And so we've created some strategic plan, and we're going to kind of go over that a little bit with the board tonight, and then hopefully with the consent of the board, move forward with that plan. So that's the 3 items on my agenda for tonight. Just around the district, I really love the first day of school. I got to go to every single school. We started at Cherry in the morning and watch the kids get off the bus with smiling faces and new backpacks and sneakers and all the things that come with an opening school year. We went to the high school where we saw 22 students who were twins start the day on News 12. We had a great coverage from News 12 on that. And it was kind of neat to see all 22 of them next to each other lined up as we were heading into the high school. But also just standing outside the high school, watching the students come in with their friends, the seniors with their senior shirts, just really excited and happy to see each other. Moving on to Cherry, where the kids were again adorable, coming off the buses, families gathering outside, going into the buildings, teachers waiting and greeting and bringing them to the classrooms, and really just saw some happy, joyful faces on the kids and the staff. The middle school also, different kind of students, but certainly excited. There you see some science students and students in the parking lot coming in, and just a really positive vibe as kids were entering the buildings in that day. And then Lincoln was on fire with a dancing principal in the front, celebrating and welcoming all the kids to school, and the staff was geared up. Those were their staff Friday shirts, and again, it was hot, but it was happening over Lincoln, as well as Sunrise Drive, where Sonny the Duck and Dr. Foy were waiting as well to greet the children. So just walking through all the buildings, watching the teachers and the staff and the students, just a lot of coordination and effort went into this. And I just want to thank our teachers, our staff, our custodial group, who spent the entire summer not only doing construction, but getting the buildings ready, our administrative team, who put schedules together, who planned, who I don't think people realize how much it takes it's like launching a cruise ship, and you have to get everything ready. And our staff just did a phenomenal job, and I want to thank them for that. Also, our sports season is underway. We have 405 students participating in our sports teams this year. And it's been a pleasure kind of just watching the kids again on the field. And it has been hot, but we have water on the field, and we have breaks, and we have all kinds of things in place to make sure the athletes are safe. But it's been just another wonderful experience watching the kids back on our fields this year. I want to bring your attention to two different items. I'm wearing the shirt today because it was for sale at the sporting events where Sayville goes gold. And it's really to kind of recognize and honor and bring awareness to pediatric cancer. And so all the 100% of the proceeds from the t-shirt sales, from the sneaker laces sales, go towards cancer research and helping students. And the games were packed, and especially at the volleyball game, we heard from some families that had experienced some tragedy with childhood cancer, and it was very moving. And players on both sides kind of really put forward some great efforts, and we had some great events. So I just want to thank all those people in Sayville who wore their gold, who supported this event. It's really touching and important. Also this month is we have a parenting workshop on bullying awareness and prevention on Tuesday, October 10th at 7:30. Join us in the middle school library, and you can click on the link. We'll send out, and this
It just, as was our custom last year, bi-monthly, we tried to offer parent workshops for our community. So this will be the first in our series for next month, October 10th. And I know the middle school, high school PTA with SEPTA is having their first meeting at the middle school, also in the cafeteria, beginning at 7. So we hope that
6:30.
6:30,
Yep.
great, okay. So we're hoping that you can go to both the PTA and SEPTA meeting and then join us in the library. And just the last thing I wanted to mention, that it will be in person, but we did set up a Zoom link as well. So if you can't make it, you can also Zoom in.
I just want to thank our PTPS departments and our PTA and parent organizations for helping to organize these events. They are very helpful to parents, and we really hope that you participate. Also, Sayville is going purple this month. And this is part of the ISOP Goes Purple initiative. ISOP Goes Purple is a month-long initiative designed to unite the town of ISOP in raising awareness of mental health, substance use disorder, and celebrating those in recovery. All townships were encouraged to go purple, and Sayville joined in. And throughout the month, I know the PPS department also did a whole bunch of lessons and activities with the students and raising awareness for mental health, suicide awareness, and how the child, if they're feeling something, can get support. And I think it's really important to make sure students know when they're feeling something bad or uneasy or they're unsure of something, there are places they can go to get help and or support. And this is kind of part of it. It's a nice way to start the school year, just making sure that kids know they have people they can go to and actions they can take to support them. Okay, and I also want to remind everyone of an upcoming event, the Sayville Strides Color Run, which has been a fantastic event over the last several years, thanks to Ms. Mackers and the PPS department. And the purpose of the event is really to just bring people together, because when students engage in community events, they develop a sense of belonging, and the research is very clear that when kids feel connected to their schools and feel that sense of belonging, they engage in their work, and they also feel healthier, happier, and more able to be successful. So we want to continue that by bringing everyone together at this great event. And we did a couple of things just that we want people to be aware of. Ms. Mackers, you want to talk a little bit about Prepare?
On the superintendent's conference day, we did a prepare training, which is actually originates from the APA, which is the American Psychological Association. And it's a crisis preparedness training. So we had basically every social worker and psychologist from across the district in the room. We had 2 representatives from our security team. We had a nurse representative, and then we had our assistant superintendent for business, Mrs. Meserol, and our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, Mrs. DiMiola. And basically we did a 4-hour crisis preparedness training, which provides evidence-based resources to communities on how to respond to crisis prevention. And it's a number of crises that it covers, and they just added mental health crises this year too. So, and even post that training, the trainer, Debbie Caputo, shared a plethora of information with us just about how to respond to crises that could occur in a school. So it was a very valuable day, and we will continue our work with that.
You know, I thank you for setting that up. Also, our entire faculty and staff participated on Superintendent's Conference Day in an active shooter presentation just to help prepare for hopefully something that will never happen in our schools, but one thing that we want to be prepared for. So all staff was trained and it was recorded, so any staff who was newly hired will be able to watch that training prior to starting. And that was provided by the Office of Homeland Security, 5th Precinct, Suffolk County. Now we want to talk about construction. So first off, before we get to each of the details, and Rhonda's going to kind of go over that, I just want to give a huge thank you to Danny Castellano and the entire Buildings and Grounds and Facilities Department. We had an unbelievable amount of construction in the schools this summer. It was really, the scope was huge, and from every custodian to cleaners to the management, just coordinating everything so that our schools could be ready. We did building tours today, and we can certainly talk about that later. And they looked beautiful. The building is sparkling, the walls are shining, lots of fresh paint, and the teachers did a wonderful job with bulletin boards and just making the place a home for our students. So I just want to thank the Buildings and Grounds, and if we could all just give them a round of applause. I'm just going to, in a very quick way, kind of go through the list of things, and then we're going to show you some pictures. So, and I think just it's going to take some time, but I think it's important to help you understand the scope of this. At the high school, we did a full roof replacement as well as metal edging, and the roof around the entire building. The skylight over the main entrance was replaced. There were numerous HVAC units and exhaust fans replaced throughout the entire building. Numerous faculty spaces had new floors installed and were painted by our staff. New kitchen cabinets installed in the upstairs dining areas. New ceiling and LED lighting fixtures installed in the classroom, as well as painted by our staff. Faculty bathroom upgrades on the 2nd floor. Senior parking lot was repaved because it had many divots so that the students would be able to drive their cars in and out and park safely. Electrical outlets installed on the varsity softball field. At the middle school, theater lighting and sound upgrade took place. We noticed in the 8th grade graduation that the lights were flickering, and we decided that there's no way we could let that sit. So one of the projects we had as a long-range project became an immediate project, and we replaced all of the lighting and sound in the middle school theater. So now we have a fully operational theater, and we no longer have to rent lights or sound systems to make our theater presentations for the middle school. So we're really excited about that. The music hallway received a new drop of ceiling, the LED light fixtures, various rooms received new flooring, athletic storage areas were created and installed by the district staff. At the rear of the property, in the middle school, we received a new paved area where we put up basketball hoops, so now the middle school kids could have outdoor recess. Our new bell schedule allows for that, and the kids were out there today, and they're absolutely having a ball, as students of that age should in their middle school experience. The district staff performed a deep cleaning of the pool, which is usually done by an outside vendor, but we decided to do that on their own, and various painting projects took place throughout the entire school. At Sunrise Elementary, the main parking lot along with the east wing was repaved in entirety. 17 bathrooms at Sunrise Drive that were absolutely falling apart have been replaced. 11 single bathrooms in the west wing. Sunrise had 5 classroom ceilings replaced, LED light fixtures installed as well. The building staff painted the entire hallways throughout the building in Sunrise Drive. Epoxy floors were installed in the cafeteria. Good with the music. It's good. Keep my cadence going. Various spaces throughout. Look at Lincoln Avenue, the main office of both offices were painted and the flooring was redone. The pre-K rooms that face Lincoln Avenue had concrete walkways installed to allow for easier access. New fencing was installed along the entire pre-K area to keep the kids safe during recess and dismissal. Sensory room has been added at the Lincoln Avenue schools so that students can have a range of opportunities there. Coach's office was painted and had new flooring installed. Various spaces throughout the buildings were painted as well. And again, this is a very long and tedious list, but I think it kind of, we only have about a few guys and gals, and they did all this work. And I think it's really impressive and they need to be recognized. Cherry Avenue, the roof was replaced in its entirety with metal edging installed along the new roof. There was a new fence installed by the pre-K area for better security. The steam room was painted by our staff and cabinets installed. One pre-K room was received new flooring and ceilings. There was a paving project that took place to fix some of the entryway areas for paving, and various spaces throughout the building were painted. And again, here are some pictures that just kind of illustrate. And again, what's a picture of a roof? Like, yeah, it doesn't look like so special or exciting, but it's nice that the rain doesn't go through and then we have to keep replacing the ceiling. Here's the senior parking lot, which if you saw the before picture, it was an absolute disaster. And, you know, parents don't have to worry about their kids coming home with cars with dents and things and flat tires. This is the new lighting kind of, it's hard to see lighting on a stage in a picture, but it's really state-of-the-art lighting to the degree where you can pretty much do anything with any type of show. It's also going to enhance our musical concerts and our events because the sound is even throughout the entire.
And you said in this case, even they've taken the old out, they realized how bad.
Yeah, when they were replacing it, they pulled out some of the electrical in the ceilings and they realized that it was really almost rotted and in a state that could have been very dangerous. We had to replace a panel in the back. It was 40 years old and it was just, it was important to do. And then the nice thing is that now that we have state of the art there, it should be good for the next 40 years. So we're good. Middle school cross, you can just see a brand new ceiling. It might not seem exciting to you, but it's nice to have good light and an airy space. Here's an example of a path at Sunrise Drive. The left is the before, the right is the after. It just kind of has a better, safer feel for kids when they're walking. And again, the entire parking lot at the Sunrise Drive was leveled. I don't know if you remember that parking lot, but it had divots and dips, and when it rained, there were huge puddles that you had to walk through. So now it's safe for everybody. And again, here's another example of a bathroom renovation in the nurse's office. And this is another bathroom that was renovated in the Sunrise Drive School. More ceiling replacements. This is a main office in Lincoln Avenue. It had the carpet and the wood, and it's now got an easy to clean surface that just makes it look much nicer, but more importantly, it's safe and easier. And then here's the sensory room in Lincoln that we were talking about. It has multiple, and there's more to this than that, but there's multiple things for students to engage in. And it really provides not only a space for our OT and our PT, but also for like a relaxation room for kids to calm down, to kind of center themselves and get themselves able to return to classroom. So it's a nice addition to Lincoln Avenue room. And I want to thank the staff there for helping to not only put the room together, but also preparing and training people on how to use it and help our students. Here's the roof at Cherry Avenue, exciting stuff. And this is actually very exciting to me. The Cherry Avenue STEAM Lab, we're doing a pilot program at Cherry, and we're going to be expanding that. This is year 1, year 2, it'll be through the entire district. But on the right, you see the new pre-K room, and on the left, you see the STEAM Lab at Cherry Avenue. Okay, so that kind of concludes the construction update and the around the district. The only other thing I'd like to say is I did get several emails and a couple phone calls about the heat and why can't we have air conditioning in the schools, because it really would make things nicer for everybody. And I agree, it would be a wonderful thing to have air conditioning in the schools and make it nicer for everybody. The reason that it's a challenge is that the age of the buildings and the infrastructure we have is old in terms of, the 1950s buildings, and they were not ever built with air conditioning in mind. So it's not as simple as just kind of putting in an air conditioning unit on the top and sending it through the univents. None of that is kind of set up for that. The other thing is the electrical grid in each building for the 5 buildings can't handle that kind of upgrade, would have to be upgraded as well. So we did an engineering report to to try to find out how much would it cost to upgrade and get central air for the district. Okay, hold your breath, it's about $40 million. So that would have to be a bond project. There was no way it could be anything other than that. And I don't know if this community would be willing to go in that direction, but that's what it would take for all 5 of our elementary and high school and secondary schools to have air conditioning. Then the question is, well, why can't you just put in some window units and call it a day? And the answer is you can do that in certain situations, and we do that to accommodate 504s and other kind of health needs. However, and we do have air conditioned spaces such as cafeterias, theater space in the middle school so that we can rotate kids in on a hot day. However, the air conditioning units actually pull more electricity than the central air system, and so it would be impossible with the electrical situation we have now to put those kind of things in every single class. So it's frustrating, I know, and I know that the first 2 days of school were very hot. The third day was hot, and today is better. And I hope that we have some cooler days ahead of us, but that's the status of that. Okay. Any questions about the update or anything happening?
Do we want to jump into building visits since we just talked about?
Yeah, do you want to just kind of
Yeah,
mention that?
I mean, we'll jump into the building visit for the board did. So, yesterday and today we visited, Cherry, Lincoln, Sunrise, and the middle school. Yeah.
And the high school.
And the high school.
We did them all.
And, yeah, it was, very good to see everybody in the classrooms. I have to say Danny looked very calm, and cool, collected, but I can't imagine.
Like a duck.
Yeah. But, I was impressed that everything really came together.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the central room at Lincoln Avenue is great. And I looked at that and it's, to me, it wasn't a big construction thing. It was just rethinking the space. I think that's what's amazing about it.
Yeah, I just want to say, I said to every one of the custodians that I see school districts all the time, and the pride that they put into the work they do in this building, in these buildings, is just so evident, even to the point where I worked in a high school for 20 years. They painted the molding, I think it was in Sunrise Drive, and just the meticulousness care that they did to make sure that it was neat and it looked the way it's supposed to look, and they didn't paint over posters and tape without, which they do in other places. So kudos to them. And I think just going through the building, watching some of the things that we put in place in the last budget, the AIS, the STEM, and watching those teachers, they were beaming to talk about their programs and what they were doing. I think, and even I know we'll talk about our goals, but the things that the buildings did based on the goals that we set are so evident that they're being implemented. And I think that's really.
Yes, I didn't hear me. Yes, the buildings were immaculate. I want to give kudos to Dan. He does a great job. We went into the kindergarten, the pre-K. Kids looked like they're having fun. I did speak to them. They said they were having fun. So some of them, not the middle school kids. No, but the buildings were beautiful, and we're lucky to have such nice buildings. We're lucky to have.
I just want to add, like, as we went through the buildings and we said, show us what's great. And then we said, show us what you need. And then there are definitely some places that need to be addressed. I'm sure we'll talk about as we go further, but again, just the fact that we've kept these buildings throughout the years, it says a lot.
The only thing I saw that we have to look into is our weight room is a little.
That's one of
the high school. Other than that, very little, but that has to be looked into.
And I just want to compliment the men and women who are in the below the grounds. When I spoke to one the other day, he just said to me, well, this is our home, so we want it to be nice. And I think that's the sentiment of our custodial staff. And I've worked in other districts and that's not the sentiment. So I think we're really fortunate to have that as the sentiment of our custodial staff here in Sayville.
I just wanted to add quickly, I was able to visit the sensory room in Lincoln Avenue, and as a physical therapist myself that works with children with special needs, I was extremely happy to see the equipment that had been added. I think it will be, it is a great addition to both the staff and students that are there, and also just give a shout out to the staff at Ms. Macris and Mr. Ganti, along with your staff and the physical therapists and the OTs work to gather that equipment.
Mr. Ganti really took the lead on that.
So she did a great job.
And I'd also add that, I asked the question about security in every building. And, you know, we added some things, to the elementary school. All the doors were closed, which was great. There was one little stray chuck hiding.
But it wasn't
somewhere
being
in the
used.
corner.
What wasn't being used in the basement?
It's my wood shop.
Yes.
The wood shop. A stray wood shop door. So, because it's illegal to put wood shops in the doors to keep them open. And last year we saw a lot of them, and this year we saw none, and then we saw one on the floor in the corner.
And we saw posters all over raising awareness about keeping doors closed.
Yeah, I want to thank our security team. We made a big deal about that in the beginning of the school year, and I have to say, compared to my first visit last year, every door was closed and there was a sign on it that says, "Do not prop the door." And so I just want to really appreciate the principals and the security teams for making that clear message to everybody.
And it takes everybody involved to keep that up.
Yep.
And, what we said it already once, but really to the whole buildings and the grounds team, thank you very much for getting schools ready.
Great job.
So that brings us to the next phase, which is, yeah, there's lots of nice things, but there's also things we need to work on and things that we need to fight for and things that we need to kind of put in place to make sure that our schools are the best schools for our kids. And that's both academically, instructionally, health and safety, and also physical plan. So as you know, last October, we put out a survey to parents, students, secondary students, and the entire faculty and staff and administrators, basically asking them a series of questions, some that were about sense of belonging and a sense of connectedness in their schools. Some was about academics, some was about facilities and grounds, and if we were going to put our funds somewhere, where should it go? And from that, we created a 100-day study. In October, we're going to present the entire findings of that study, the overview, because there's a 100-page report that kind of just outlined, you know, the good and the things that we're really proud of, as well as the areas that we need to work on in our district. And there's always, no matter how good the district is, areas that we need to work on. But also, what do we want for our kids and what do we believe in was kind of part of that question. And we came up with really 4 kind of cornerstones that we said we really believe in. And the first thing we believe in is our students, and that we are a child-centered organization that needs to put decision-making, the children, at the heart of our decision-making. The second is that every child has gifts, and we need to recognize and provide opportunities for discovery, learning, and growth while nurturing every child's unique talents and a path to independence. The third thing that we kind of identified is that we believe in meaningful relationships, that we are committed to developing caring relationships with all students, staff, and families, and that we strive to be a thriving learning community free of discrimination, prejudice, or hatred. And our fourth area that we kind of said we believe in as a district, and this is from everybody, is we encourage and celebrate the resilient journey of all students, staff, and families. So this is kind of our we believe from that study. And then we kind of identified what parents, students, and staff thought that they believed should be outcomes for kids. If you spend 14 years in our system, what should you come away with when you leave us? And that was a hard thing to do because we were taking 529 parent surveys, 1,600 student surveys, about 200 plus staff surveys, and a bunch of focus group data, and say, like, can we boil it down to like a basic thing that we say should be an outcome for our students when they leave us after 14 years? And so we came up with, and again, the words were different that people used. We tried to kind of synthesize them into the basics. And one is that we want our students to be independent learners. And that kind of means that they do work on their own, that if they need help, they advocate for themselves and get the help they need. And again, this is by the time they graduate. So there's a progression from kindergarten or pre-K, where we're advocating for them and helping them, all the way through 12th grade, where we want them to graduate being able to do this on their own. So independence is something that we really value in our students. Ironically, when you look at Fortune 500 companies that are looking to hire, what they're saying about graduates in this current age is there is a lack of independence, and we need our employees to be more independent and self-sufficient. And so we want to give students skills. So as we work on our curriculum, as we work on our units of study, how do we embed teaching independence and resilience to our students as they go through schools? We also want our students to be caring citizens. We want them to think about others and help the community that they live in and think of making the world a better place. Some people might argue that school is for math, science, social science, and English, and reading and writing, and that is true. But we also have an obligation to produce citizens who are able to go out and kind of help the world be a better place. And that is another thing that was important. I didn't make these up. The administrators didn't make these up. This came from the survey work of what you want for your kids. So we want Sayville to produce what you guys want. Communicators. There was a desire for kids to graduate here being able to communicate in writing very effectively and also verbally. so that they can kind of go out into the world and advocate for themselves and or others and their needs and demonstrate what they know in a variety of ways. And so how do you build that into a curriculum K through 12? So you're constantly working on that so that it starts in kindergarten and it builds through to senior year. Collaboration, again, 21st century corporations want people who can work in teams. And so we have an obligation to teach students how to work effectively in teams. And we did notice during COVID, there was a little bit of loss there when they were working independently. How do you get kids in the table group, give them a task, give them a problem, and have them work together to solve it in equal footing? And critical thinkers. A lot of people might try to criticize schools today, saying you're trying to indoctrinate children with a certain mindset. We're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is provide facts of the world and then ask kids to look at various points of view and figure out on their own how to synthesize, analyze, and evaluate that information so they can make decisions for themselves about what they believe, who they are, what they believe about the world around them, and how they should act and move forward. So our job is to teach them to think critically, not how to think or what to think, but how to analyze information, make sense of it for themselves, and decide on how they want to move themselves forward in the world. And the last one that kind of came up is we don't want it to be stressful. We want kids to be happy. We want them to be joyful. We want them to be able to go through school feeling that learning is fun, figuring things out is fun, and challenging themselves and doing better is fun. And in the human condition, actually, human beings like to progress. They like to find things out. They like to solve things and make something. And so we want our kids to create and make and do it in a joyful manner. And so this is kind of the overarching outcomes that we felt from the study that the majority of our community wants, our faculty feels is important, and our students even spoke to as what they want to be able to do for themselves when they graduate. Then there were many different words, so we try to synthesize them into like these 6. Autonomy is important as we work in our schools. So autonomy is our ability to make decisions and have a say in our direction of our lives. We want our kids to have a sense of autonomy, and when they do, they tend to engage more. But we also want our staff and our faculty to have a sense of autonomy. But we can't just have full-on autonomy or everyone's going in different directions. You can't have one kindergarten teacher doing it one way and another kindergarten teacher doing it another way. So there needs to be connectedness. So one of the things that we want to focus on is we want to give each building and teachers the autonomy to artfully teach, but we also want to do it within a system that's connected. So we worked with our staff over the spring, and each principal met with their teachers and said, what do we believe in as a staff? What do we want to fight for in our curriculum? What do we have embedded in our work? And how are we going to move it forward together so that every kid in our district, in the building that they're in, at the grade level they're in, has similar connected experiences, but the teacher still has the autonomy to do it in an artful way. And so each building kind of worked together to come up with their focus and their goals for the upcoming school year, which are reflected in these building goals that we're going to be presenting to you tonight. So Sayville High School came up with a slogan, proud of yesterday, seasoned today, improving tomorrow, and they came up with something called CORE. And that means connection, ownership, resilience, and exploration. And you can notice that CORE is their way of saying basically these 6 things that were found in the studies. And the high school CORE is going to be the focus in their faculty meetings and in the work they do in department meetings of what are we doing in our classrooms in 9th grade and 10th grade to push and promote a connection, ownership, resilience, and exploration for students. It's not that we don't do these things. I think a lot of our teachers are doing these things already. It's about coordinating and then thinking about how do we assess it? How do we, in a rubric, put it into a project so kids can kind of go after it so that when they get to senior year and they graduate, they're building their connections, they're building their ownership and how they complete work. They're becoming resilient and challenged and they're finding ways to explore or problem solve in a way that they might not have before. So it's about being explicit about these things. At the middle school, the teachers came up with something called PAT, persistence, accountability, teamwork, and honesty. And again, the words you use don't exactly matter as long as it lines up with the overall vision that the community wanted. And then the middle school faculty, again, at their meetings are going to be talking about what does this look like in a middle school classroom? How do we go after it? And how do we push kids towards it? So this path they take helps them get ready for high school. And then at the elementary schools, each elementary school created their own. Cherry Avenue Elementary School created something called Back to Basics, where they focus on collaboration and independence. And they have a whole way of doing that. And in each grade level, they define what that looks like in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And now the teachers are kind of going after it together and collaborating. We also know when teachers collaborate on things and go after the same things together, the work they do is far more powerful than if they do it alone and isolated in the classrooms. At Sunrise Drive, we have Welcome to the Pond. And we have the 4 cornerstones of the core values, which is joy and engagement, educational experiences, a growth mindset, value and worth. And if you were to read these, I'm not going to go over every single detail. The teachers created these and they kind of align with those overarching district values that we kind of identified earlier last spring. Lincoln Avenue is on the process of creating these with their new leadership. Dominic Armando and Scott Bullis are kind of going to be developing these. So Lincoln has not gotten to that point yet where they're ready to kind of put out what they believe and how they're going to do it. But the exciting thing is the staff is fully poised and ready, and the new leadership team at Lincoln is really poised and ready to do that as well.
They get the advantage of taking the test after everybody else.
Right. When Dominic said the meeting, he's like, oh, what did Lincoln, what did, okay, I got it.
Power competitiveness.
So, exactly. But that's gonna happen in all 5 elementary schools. So I'm trying to paint a picture of everything we're doing now at this point is with purpose and with intent. And the intent is based on the feedback from our community about what we value, what's important to us, and what we want for outcomes for our students. And we're using the data in our work to create these things. So like as an example, the high school faculty sat with student surveys and sat with parent surveys. And as they worked on creating what became core, they kind of used those surveys to develop what became core for the high school. And the same was true in each of the buildings. And, you know, some of the feedback was really positive and some of it kind of stung a little bit, you know, depending on the feedback, but you use it to grow and to be better. And I think that a great organization like Sayville is one that does what that does, which is you constantly grow and develop until you keep going and going and get better and better as you go. So how does this translate into board goals? So the board goal number 1, which I'll kind of go over now, and it's proposing to the board, and there's a more written out detailed version of this that the board has, is working towards our outcomes. So those 6 outcomes we talked about. Goal number 1 is basically our building teams now are going to work towards those outcomes based on those building creations that I showed you. So high school core, middle school path, sharing back to basics, and so forth and etc. Through looking at our school department and grade level policies, do the policies we have align with promoting those outcomes? And if they don't, let's adjust them. And if they do, great, let's enhance them and make them even better. Do our unit plans and lesson plans align with the outcomes? So a unit of study in social studies or math or English, does it not only incorporate the content that is important to us in terms of passing that readings exam, which is important, but also does it promote those skills that we want kids to have when they graduate high school and head off into college, work, or career? Assessments that aim explicitly for the outcomes. So when we do a project, does it look to a responsibility? Does it look to building a connection or problem solving? And how do we measure that? And how do we do that across the board in a grade level, in a department, or in a school? Instructional practices. But let's look at research-based instructional methodologies and make sure they're aligned with these outcomes and that they focus on 2 areas that the research says are the most important things for student growth. And that is caring for a sense of belonging and academic learning. But you can't have academic learning if kids don't feel safe, cared for, and supported through the work of caring that's going on in the classroom. So sense of belonging is a #1 factor in student success, both emotionally, but also academically, which is why programs like Strides is woven into this, kind of make sure that we're supporting this. And I just want to thank all the principals in the buildings for integrating Strides and integrating the work they're doing into these board goals. So this is the board goal number 1, and it's really about connected autonomy, and it's about aligning the district and aiming for something together and moving in the direction together, but letting the teachers and staff work with their principals to do so in an autonomous and connected way. So that's goal number 1. I'm now going to hand it over to Amy Piviola, our new assistant superintendent of instruction, who's going to talk about goal number 2.
Thanks. The 100 Days of Learning study illuminated how we benefit from a self-study in our K-5 discipline. So different groups of stakeholders indicated a desire for a few things: clear direction in curriculum, strong support for teachers as they go into practice, and consistency in the 3 buildings across all program areas. And to do a self-study like this is a really healthy thing for an organization to do. And it's exciting to have that opportunity to do that. So one of the other pieces of feedback was that faculty voice should be very prominent in any decisions that get made with regards to curriculum and instruction. And I couldn't agree more, and I don't think our administration could agree more. So we're pretty excited to be devising a plan to form 5 committees. They're going to be co-led by myself and each a different administrator. And those committees would be focused on literacy, mathematics, RTI, AIS, and MTSS services. Science, social studies, STEAM, and enrichment would be the fourth committee, and the integration of Strive into the elementary curriculum would be fifth committee. And what each of those committees would involve a representative sample of faculty from across grade levels, from across disciplines, from across teaching specialties, so that the voices can inform how we go forward. And we embark on a shared study that we dissect what are our current practices, engage in a shared study of current research. And once we come to some common understandings and really have a chance to debate and decide what we believe would be the best thing for all of our kids moving forward, we'll co-create some goals for moving forward, any enhancements, adjustments, changes to curriculum. And this is a big fight. So this won't all be completed inside of 1 year, but will indeed be a multi-year process. And people can have the chance to expand. I think one body of teachers to be focusing on so many changes at the same time wouldn't be best for anybody, but to slowly evolve together as we come to some shared understandings would be terrific. So through this collaborative work, I think teachers will emerge better prepared than ever to deliver learning experiences that bring out the best in themselves and in their students.
Thank you. And then we head to Ms. Mackers for goal 3.
So board goal number 3 is a sense of belonging and inclusivity. And this is, just before I begin, this is the responsibility of all. It's not just one department, it's every single stakeholder in the district, but really working with the PPS office, the CNI office, and the special ed office. We really want to ensure that every single student feels safe, welcome, and supported in learning and their school experiences. And the 2 really guiding principles to that is, again, not to be redundant, but connections and relationships. And I did include this quote from Brian Mendler, who is an education advocate and a speaker. I think it's really important. Relationships are always the foundation. Content and curriculum are the first and second floors. And if that foundation is not solid, the house will crumble. So clearly that foundation has to be built first in order to promote learners who feel safe, and then giving our students voice, and so that they feel heard and they feel valued. And it sounds good, but how do we accomplish this? So how will this be accomplished? Well, we do have our district-wide wellness program, Strides, and we say it's under the umbrella, but now we're sort of thinking of it more like a tree, because now we have core and we have path as the roots of that tree. So we're going to continue to embed those principles like ownership, connection, resilience, self-esteem into not only our curriculum in the district, but also into the culture of the district, so that it becomes the fabric of our district. And just to echo what Amy had said, really creating instructional practices that appeal to a diverse group of learners and not just one type of learner. But the ultimate goal of board goal 3 is to create a safe space so that our students can have trusting relationships that impact them in 2 ways, academically and personally. So looking forward to, I think our staff has already done amazing work. I think Sayville is very proud of the relationships and connections our students make with our teachers, our coaches, and all of our staff members. So we're excited to continue to grow that.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, just because we have a goal doesn't mean we're not good at it. So one of the things that came up in our surveys, over 90% of our students, I believe, self-reported that they feel cared for by the staff. And I think over 90% of our parents felt that the teachers cared about their kids. And about 94% of our students said they had one adult they would go to if they felt like they were in trouble, and that they felt comfortable doing that. So those are amazing stats, and we want to build on that.
Yeah, and I also just want to mention that whenever we have any of these programs, most districts have wellness or character ed programs. We never claim that they are a panacea for all problems, that are going to eradicate every problem, but no doubt just to continue to work to being proactive and diminishing issues and being as supportive as possible.
Right, so whenever you create goals, it's really important to have few goals, because if you have too many goals, you never get to meeting. So our three goals are basically, the building plans of connected autonomy and kind of creating those outcomes for students and creating the infrastructure for that, reviewing our curriculum to make sure it's aligned and supporting that work, and then ensuring that all kids feel safe, cared for, and differentiating the work for them so that they can be successful regardless of who they are. So those are the kind of instructional and caring goals. And then the next two goals are more kind of how do you fund that, which is the fourth goal, and then how do you explain that, which is kind of the fifth goal. So the first goal number 4 would be to run it.
Yeah, so goal number 4 is fiscal planning, and it addresses both inside and outside of the Sayville school community. Our budget planning will focus on being fiscally responsible while modernizing our instructional spaces together throughout the district so that our students can excel. As part of our long-range planning, the district will continue to support projects that maintain our facilities and grounds for the good of our entire school community with an eye on safety and security. So first, we will develop plans to transform learning spaces to foster collaboration, innovation, and increase student engagement. And within the 100 days of learning, there are parts of the, our infrastructure and community that we've identified. And over the next 10 years, the capital areas that we've identified are middle school science labs and technology spaces, middle school library and IMC space, high school science labs and research lab, business center and technology labs, utilizing flexible furniture and seating for a variety of instructional spaces in all of our buildings. High school, the little and large theater upgrades, elementary STEAM, continue what we've done, and enrichment room upgrades, technology infrastructure. It's a big list, but like I said, over 10 years, maintain and enhance the quality of our athletic fields and training spaces, upgrade all buildings with enhancements that will improve school safety and security. And there's no denying how significant a school is in shaping up a student's personality and holistic learning process. Like an experienced teacher and teaching pedagogy play a critical role in shaping students' academic lives, infrastructure is also vital. It creates a favorable environment for students. Parents also wish to ensure the schools have ample safety standards and facilities to make learning joyful. So the second here is, and we also have 5 years. We hope to add additional AIS support for math and literacy at the elementary schools and middle school as part of the 3-year plan for AIS. Adding final elementary STEAM enrichment teaching position at Lincoln Avenue as part of the 2-year plan for elementary STEAM enrichment, supporting the continuation of the elementary world language program in grades K through 6 over the next 4 years by following a 5-year world language plan, explore ways to empower and support teacher leadership and instructional coaching at the elementary and middle school level, as part of a 5-year plan, establish an elementary director of literacy and MTSS position when fiscally possible to support our literacy programs and MTSS support system for students. Enhance our security personnel by increasing staffing to ensure full coverage in all of our buildings district-wide. So that's part of what we will be focusing on in terms of our fiscal plans. We will also analyze, review, and regularly update safety measures and initiatives. And recently, Dr. Ferris had shared with the community some of the things that we've already put into place, but we do always have an eye on security. Some of those being appointing a larger group team of all of our stakeholders on the district-wide health and safety plan, partnering with Homeland Security in the 5th Precinct, also adding a security and safety consultant through BOCES for reviewing our plans and recommending different areas where we may improve upon that. Additional guards were added at the elementary schools and middle school. And again, Dr. Ferris had mentioned about the active shooter presentation that was recorded and was shared with our staff. Additional roaming vehicles and poster campaigns which are working for keeping our doors shut. And next is
we'll put all of this into our, plan. We'll develop a financially robust strategic plan that is prudent and generates financial results required for long-term success. And what that looks like is embedding into our budget process these things so that we don't lose sight of our goals and we can accomplish them. So this should include measurable metrics to assess success and adjust accordingly. Some of the things that we use is things like the 100-day days of learning, also our financial audits and how we structure that and develop our successful budget. So we reach out to the users of our program, and that's how we motivate students and provide an enriching educational experience. So
And I just want to add, this is a 5-year strategic plan, so all of that's not going to happen immediately. And we're also going to be clever about how we do it. We're not just going to be adding, we're going to be looking at, as retirements come forward, how do we maneuver or adjust so that we're using monies that we have for different things as opposed to just adding to a budget. So it's really important to take advantage of opportunities and moments in time where you can take staffing that is currently existing and repurpose it rather than just adding, because that just adds cost. So we want to keep costs as down as possible while we enhance program. And then finally, how do we communicate this? Dr. Branscombe.
Last but not least, goal number 5, and that's the board's commitment to communication and transparency. It's not just from this boardroom, it certainly starts with our buildings. So we've implemented and started using Parent Square in the district. That's certainly something that the building administrators and district administrators can take advantage of to keep our families and community informed about situations, not just emergency things, but community events. And certainly our teachers in the classroom can communicate information to the community, to teacher or to parents as well. In terms of information coming from the Board of Education, certainly one thing we want to implement this year is putting a list of topics out for the entire year. So those that are interested in coming to board meetings will know what's taking place that night. Posting board agendas and advanced board meetings, that's something we're currently doing and will continue to do. We're looking to make sure that the recordings are posted online as quickly as we can. Certainly acknowledging all communications from the public and from the community during public session. And certainly, I think everybody has copies of the board agendas on their sheets tonight. So certainly making those available in each and every board meeting.
Okay, so and again, these goals, I mean, I think what we're trying to do is create goals that are not going to change for a very long time. Like they can evolve as we meet some of them, but this is like a 5-year strategic plan. So the goals, I think it's a mistake to just create a goal that's supposed to be for a year and then you check it off and you create a new goal because you never really get to it. So we want to make these goals like really deep and challenging, but then leave them in place for a while. And then as we achieve some things, we can adjust them, but really leave these 5 goals in place for a really much longer than a year. Because it's going to take a long time to kind of build and develop and mold and shape this. And again, we're building on the work that we've always been doing. We're building on the great work of our teachers and our staff, and we're just coordinating it and kind of putting it in a direction together. And really this comes from the work of our fantastic teachers and staff and administration who use the data from that study to create their building plans. And then the elementary curriculum piece really comes from the teachers saying to us, we want to talk about this. We want to talk about literacy. We want to talk about our math curriculum. We want to talk about our science curriculum. And we want to shape it in a way that we feel good about. And I think that's important. As Amy said, teacher voice has to be present in the creation, but it has to be coordinated teacher voice. And I think that's what we're trying to do. So any questions at this point from the board about our goals or the presentation?
We got a comment?
Comment or question?
No questions. You want me to go first?
Sure.
You know, I was upset. So I so appreciate this process and I hope that everybody else does, because I do think it clearly reflects what a community and a school district and the teachers and the educators and the students want. As we go through them, the idea that we have overriding goals, but the buildings and therefore the teachers are able to have the autonomy to teach it in their way. When we went to the buildings today and yesterday, it was evident that already they're thinking this because it was on their boards and it was in the hallway and it was in their do now and it was in all of those things. So it tells me that that people have bought in, and I think that's really the most important, because if we topped down this, it would never have worked. The second goal, with the elementary curriculum, like, I think you'd ask the average parent, do you get a great education in Sayville? And I think we would say yes. And then you read this and you're like, oh my God, we can make it better. And I think that's like so exciting. Number 3, the sense of belonging. We all know people, don't always remember what you say, they always remember how you make them feel. And, when you teach and students come back and they remember you, it's usually something that you touch them sensory wise or emotionally. It's not really that you taught me 2 + 2, even though they may remember that, hopefully. I'm just gonna skip for a minute. And number 5, the transparency with the community and trying to, build the trust between the school and the board. There's so much political fodder around education at this point that is, a lot of it's not necessary. And allowing people to speak up and question and have good dialogue, I think is good. So all those things are like, yes, we can do all these things. And then Rhonda, I'm so sorry, then we get to the fiscal part. It's like, 10 years from now, to get all these things to where we want them to be, is expensive, and it's going to take some very careful maneuvering. And I think we're gonna have to figure out strategically, like, how do we get our biggest bang for our buck? Like, what can we do with the most impact for the least amount? And how we're gonna prioritize that amazing list that all needs to be done tomorrow, but it just can't be. So I think that, we have conversations as board members with friends and colleagues and people who call us from the community, and almost every one of them has a price tag attached to it. And it's like, wow, we can't do them all. So I am very supportive of these goals. I think that they came about in a way that I appreciate, and I hope everybody else does.
I just want to say I do agree. The goals are excellent moving forward this the world language, of course. I do have a question about that, of course, because I've heard that since there was an influx of people coming into the state that are, they're looking for a lot of bilingual teachers. Are we having difficulty in that area? Getting teachers?
Our world language program has, it's been a challenge over the years to find quality world language teachers, because there's a very short list of short group of individuals out there.
That's what I'm hearing.
I think we are in a unique situation where we have a phenomenal school district, and people are willing to obviously either start here or even, I hate to use the word coach and take them and get here, but
They choose to leave. We don't-
they choose to coach.
We don't boil them.
We have had some phenomenal recent hires from the BOE in the city that have had some great experiences that I think bring wonderful things to Sayville that Sayville hasn't seen before. So we've been very lucky and very good over the years to really entice great candidates. So while there's difficulty in hiring and finding a lot of candidates, we're finding great candidates with the small groups that we have.
Very
So,
good. Glad to hear that. I was a little concerned. Thank you.
I'll compliment you because you did a really nice summary. I basically said everything.
Thinking about it.
Yeah. You worked on it. Liz. No, I
To go in front.
I wasn't planning to go first.
I agree. I'm very pleased with the process. I know, we met and we did some nice work at the, retreat and analyzing all the information to come up with these goals. I'm happy to see that there's, measures going to be put in place for the RTI, the AIS, the MTSS learners. It's very important. And another thing, that Amy, that you said, I'm really happy, with your proposed approach with the teachers. I know when I met with them, a while back when I was joining the board, a big concern with them was that they wanted to have their voices heard, as it should be. So I'm really happy that that's being addressed. And, I think we're in a good place.
First of all, say, I'm actually excited about this, because when we started on this task last year, and then in June, just before summer vacation, Dr. Ferris gives us a homework assignment of a 100-page survey. It says we're not homework goals by August or something. I mean, it's amazing how with your expertise in this area to take so much information, to be able to filter it down to 5 goals, but also have those goals be flexible enough that every building can work within that parameter. And I think that's pretty amazing. And I like for on the 5th goal that we've actually ticked off some of those things. So we're on the path to doing things. And like you said, we'll even evaluate and add more targets to it as we go along. But I think it's great. It's the first time on the board that we've had direct feedback from all stakeholders in the district. And I think that's valuable.
Great, very good, excellent.
And we will do a follow-up with families and staff at some point with this, another survey. Okay, how's it going? And this is the direction you want to continue. And again, these goals are for this year, but they can adjust, but we want to keep them in place for several years so that we can kind of keep getting better and better and hone them. It's never good to change goals like too often. So you want to really kind of put them in place and like work on it for 5 years. And again, the last, just summarizing, like autonomy and voice is so important. And if we provide, and I really hope that I can send this message loud and clear, our teachers and our staff have to have a voice in how we create and what we create. And if we do it together, it'll be more powerful. So that's the goal. So that concludes my report.
Okay. So moving on to board discussion. I guess the first thing we can get out of the way is we had the claims audit report.
Tom, before you do that,
Sure.
I believe in our last meeting, we discussed that we would give a brief, at least topic of what we received the emails about. You said at the beginning, we got 3 emails. So the correspondence, I have it here. Do you want me to do it or?
No, one was about a security topic.
Yep.
Yes, and the other was
The ones that are here, 2 of them were about a security
Yeah.
issue, and the other one was about the board possibly supporting a community initiative that we've already spoken to. So,
Yeah.
but I just do think that we said we were gonna do it. so we should do it.
that's fine. Thank you. So then going on to the claims order report, do you have any one? And the only thing I noticed there were 2 issues on there regarding RFPs. But you indicated that they're gonna be they were worked out, and if any additional direction is needed, you'll inform them.
Absolutely, and they involved our following our purchasing policy, and one I felt was okay, and the other just maybe a reiteration of what our policy says and the need for quotes when they reach a certain threshold.
And what I think is great about the claims order report is claims order is an outside individual. He then challenges, every or reviews every check that's issued, and then gives feedback to the board. If anything needs to be adjusted or looked at or whatever. I think it's a good process that we have with that.
I also wanted to say that I want to continue to be mindful in that situation where we want to make sure that's not happening again and again. So,
Yeah, the reports do not really represent a lot of exceptions. And sometimes there's a little more background to why something was an exception or not. They usually are rectified before anything is released. And the internal claims auditor does have an important role because he's the eyes and ears of the Board of Education and does look at every single disbursement and invoice packet that is going out the door for the district.
very good. Very thorough.
Okay, next item we have, so we already did building visits, we have, go to the 3rd one first, is the October board meeting, so we're rescheduling to October 11th.
Correct. That's when the auditors can come for the audit claim report.
Okay. There's a free webinar training for board members on September 19th. It's about lessons from tragedy and opportunities for prevention and response. So I saw Yes, sure.
I just wanted to know if anyone knew, is this, because it's like smack in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, do you know if it's going to be recorded? Could we maybe find out? Okay. It's hard to retain.
Okay.
Do
Then we
we have
have
to let
the,
Julie know if we wanna sign up for that, or is there a, I think I saw an email for it, there was
There was an email, but if you want.
I might have sent it. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
and then there's the NISBA, the New York State Convention in October in Buffalo. Maureen's gonna be our representative.
Yep. Oh, yeah, but how exciting. Been there a few times.
Enjoy the train ride.
Yeah.
And then there's a National School Boards Association Conference in April in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to.
really, Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
yeah. It's important, it's very. I like the national because you see what other states are doing that we're not doing or that we could be doing better. I like that.
I would like to attend the national.
Yeah, it's good.
When is the deadline for the national, or if you could just say 4 months?
February 22nd is the last, just last time I can cancel.
Okay, so now, the other item that we wanted to discuss, was the open board seat. Vacated by John Burdone. And my understanding is we have 3 options. One is to just leave it open. The other is to have a special election, which my understanding is
Of course.
like $16,000 to $20,000.
It's closer to 16.
16. And then the third option is we could field candidates and appoint some.
Correct.
Just remind if you're gonna discuss it, please leave your microphones on so everyone can hear.
Okay. I put my 2 cents in front.
Sure.
I think we should appoint somebody. I think because, for instance, now we have only 4 people here, you know, things happen. It's appointed for a year until the next election and, you know, the next turn, so they have to run anyway, but we'll just appoint it for the year and get applications, interview like we did last time. Look, we got a great one, we got Kelly. So that would be my appoint someone.
So I think that historically, now I'm obviously a newbie here, of the 3 options, you have at least once left it open till the May vote. And then there are other times when you have fielded candidates interviewed and appointed. I will say personally, I'm not in favor of a special election after seeing that list of things I'd like to do. I don't want to waste any money on that. So I think that brings it back to like, do we leave it open till May or field the candidates? I think that's a hard one, but I do think you kind of have to look at the circumstances and this John's position would have been up in May. So no matter what, that person has to run come May. And if we start the interview process and then we go through the interview process and then we appoint, that's going to take quite a long time. And I don't know that it's worth, not that it's never worth the time and effort. I think it definitely is. I'm not sure that we're getting much out of it because by the time we put that person in the seat, that election will almost be here. So I think I kind of like to hear what everybody else says. I think there's merit to both. I do understand that there are people in the community who think that they have a more democratic part if they had a chance to vote. I think that there's some merit to that. I also think there's some merit that when you look at the last time the seat was open, I think there were 14 to 16 really good candidates to choose from. And it's, you know, sometimes the people who won't necessarily go into an election may step up that way. So I think that it really could be beneficial either way. I just don't know if John had 3 more years in his position, I think I might feel
I just
differently.
want to correct you, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how long the term is, the person, no matter when they're appointed, they're up at the next election.
Right, I do understand that, yeah. So, like I said, I don't have a strong opinion at this moment. I want to hear sort of what everybody else says. I am unhappy that Jane, not unhappy, I mean, they obviously had work to obligations, but I would like to hear what they had to say as well. So I think I'll have a hard time voting tonight because there are only 4 of us, but there's 6 voices, so I think that, I'd like to hear what they have to say as well.
So Christine and I are aligned on this. I agree. I would have liked to have heard everyone's thoughts on this. I too see the benefits in both actions as far as appointment and election at the end of the term or in May. Yes, I'm a product of the appointment, which was nice. I did like that. It gave me the opportunity to do a test run, if you will, in my board seat, and I loved it. And then I went forward again in at the time of reelection. So, of course, I enjoyed that process, but I also agree that it's nice too to have the community be able to have that democratic event or piece. So I'm not in favor of special election. I don't think it's necessary, the cost, and it's also such a short period of time. I don't think that's necessary.
Now, I just. well, still with me. I just have to add, now, as I remember. You were appointed, then you had to run in May, and then you had to run again.
Yes,
It's only your appointment, and if you run, it's only for the year then.
right, but if you look at the cycle this time, it would have been John, so that person would run in May and then have the 3 years, as
Okay.
opposed to Kelly going through, what was it, 3 elections in 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah, which is
Re-elected in 4 years.
Yeah,
It's old.
Yeah.
yeah,
But that is a lot, but yes,
Yeah.
that's how it works.
Yeah, I remembered you had them.
I mean, the only thing I would say is, like you mentioned earlier, it's been done both ways, and, there's nothing wrong with appointing somebody. Actually, I think the district is, better served, because like in this situation, today we have, 2, board members that couldn't make it. And, it's always better to have somebody, I think, sitting in the seat, from a representative from the community that can get feedback on issues. I guess that, is it an item that has to be voted on by the board, or do we just need
It
it?
should be, yeah. If it's a direction that you're going to take as a. If it's a direction that you're going to take as a board, then it should be something that you follow.
Okay, and if the fact that we have 4 board members here, if we were unanimous on that decision, would that be okay, or?
If you had, you would need 4.
Yeah.
Out of the 7, so you'd have to have a unanimous
6.
vote in one particular direction.
Okay. So, what I propose to
So
the,
you have 7,
yes,
your quorum is still 4.
Well, what I propose is either, we have 2 options. We could either decide tonight, or we can, wait until the next meeting. So, what is the preference?
Well, my preference is we could decide tonight, but I'll go with the majority.
I don't know that we're aligned tonight, and I think that.
No, that's the question.
Yeah,
We have
I
to-
don't know that we're aligned, and I think that the other voices are really important.
No, then that's fine. That's what I
Yeah,
mean.
that's what I
2
think. I
options.
think that,
If we're on 4 votes,
right,
then, we're gonna win.
As opposed to wait.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, wouldn't be fair to just communicate, you'll guess what they're.
yeah, and I will say, Tom, kudos to you, you were very good at making sure that we hadn't had this conversation prior, and that we were keeping, making sure that we did it in public for the first time, so I have no idea where James and Carl stand, and I think it's important, because we're only 4 of us, and it's, I think the community should know what they're thinking, and, I think when we vote, people should know what they're thinking, and this doesn't allow for that.
Every voice should be heard for that. I agree.
Okay, so now let me look at my checklist.
So do we have to motion to table or?
No, 'cause-
Okay.
So. We'll save that for the next meeting. Now, I guess, any other topics to discuss? I mean, one brief topic I have is, and I brought it up the last time with Fred Langston. Reaching out to, Nassau school boards to see if we can coordinate with that. So if everybody's in favor of that,
Oh, absolutely.
Would you share with me, if that's, can you give a little background?
No, I want to keep this. Yes, because the passing of Fred Langstaff, who was a dedicated school board member and New York school representative as well for the school board. I just think we talked about it and it would be appropriate to do something.
Do we have like a school board,
Yeah.
wall of fame here or
Yeah,
something?
we'll figure something.
Just one, right?
We have one picture of clock down.
Just get them to retire.
Scares me when I look at it. He's judging it.
Now that I know that's there.
Great.
Okay, so I'll try and get more information on that and we'll get back to you. That's good. Okay,
Just dates. Just a revised list of dates
for the
for
budget,
the Board of Ed meeting.
yes, we discussed that, we changed the
Oh,
October.
that's it.
Yes. Okay, now. Okay, so now we're gonna have the public comments portion of the meeting. I'd just like to make the statement. The Board of Education appreciates feedback from the community and we recognize free speech as one of our fundamental freedoms. These freedoms are not without restrictions. We follow regulations specified by law and by board policy, and we encourage our community to offer public comment. According to Sayville School Board Policy 1230, we request the following. Participants in public session must demonstrate civility as they address the board and community. 30 minutes have been set aside for comments by the public. The board reserves the right to limit or extend public participation if it deems necessary. Comments and questions from the public are limited to 3 minutes per person and should be related to school matters. Speakers are requested to identify themselves or the group they represent and direct their comments to the board. The board will not permit discussion involving individual students, district personnel, or community members. The full policy is available on the district website, and we appreciate your support to having a productive meeting. Thank you. Okay, can I have a show of hands for how many people would like to speak? Okay, and it's like 5, 6. Okay, I guess we'll start right here on the front row.
I should have said somewhere. I put these up just as a reference.
Okay.
I have more,
You go there, Julie.
if you want to talk to us. Hi, my name is Sylvia Sewell and I have 2 children who recently graduated. They've gone through Lincoln Middle School and High School, and my son is currently in the high school. Oh, but I'm not supposed to talk about it. So, I'm here tonight because I live in the Bermuda Triangle of Sayville in terms of bus transportation, where my kids don't qualify for anything, and I think it's shared by a number of people here. I actually inadvertently led my children on a life of crime. I have to apologize to Ms. Manuel. I did not know that by telling them to hop on a bus that would stop close to our house on the way home was not actually an official and approved way for them to transport themselves home. So my apologies. I do have to say also, Ms. Manuel, you have been so patient with all of my questions, all of my emails, and just about how it works. So I would like, I know, and every time I brought this subject up, everyone I talked to said, oh, you know, that we talk about this and in 30 years, it's never going to work. So I just wanted to broach the subject again, if possible. If we could have a working group of community members and members of the board. I'm not sure how this works. That's why I bothered you so much, was to figure out how do you propose this? And again, you were so transparent. Your transparency goal, fantastic. And Dr. Ferris, thank you for responding like at night to my message. So I really have to thank you both. But that's what I'd like to propose. Could we have a working group? What you see, I actually gave out all of them, so I don't even know, but I think I have it from memory. The largest portion of our budget, outside of obviously the incredible work of teaching our students, is our transportation budget.
as I understand it, I think that's right. There is, I think there might be solutions that we could come to provide safe transportation for children who live within that 100-mile radius, that 1.5-mile radius to get to schools. I don't think anyone here really thinks that it's safe. So much, my crib notes, that it's really safe for an 11-year-old to walk 1.5 miles in the cold or in the dark to get home. I mean, and it's a new world. What's that? It's a new world. Oh, I had, you know, and again, I will not advocate anymore that my kids break the law. Or if they do, we'll find it more, I don't know, money making scheme. But, what I just think that there's a group of people of goodwill that we could all come together and find a solution that could work maybe with the existing routes that we already have, just adding stops. I know that there's probably things that I don't realize that mean these things can't happen. But I know that there is a policy, and I just wanted to call attention. This is actually, this back page is from the,
I'm just have to ask.
Oh,
finish-
3 minutes?
No,
Okay.
just finish up.
okay, yes, good sheet. This back page is just the policy of the New York Ed Transportation Services, where I know that we currently have a policy that children, we have to reserve a seat on the bus for every child that qualifies, but that's not what the Department of Ed transportation policy is. It's more that you have to have enough seats for those that you think will ride. So, information, could we please tell me how to do it? Create a working group to examine this problem in more detail and propose some solutions that we could put forth to the board and for the budget for the spring.
Thank you, Sylvia. We're gonna answer everyone's questions after everyone's done, so stick around and I'll definitely respond to that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments and your pleasant demeanor.
Who would like to be next? Okay, right now, gentleman right there. You got you?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Timothy Kaler. My children go to Lincoln Avenue. I know we spoke about 2 things here tonight. We talked about the heat and how the air conditioning system might not be feasible. And we also talked a little bit about security. And my concern is simply this: how can a building be secure if no doors can be propped open, but all the windows on the first floor are open? So I'm a public school teacher. I've been teaching elementary school for 25 years in Suffolk County. I am proud to be working in a district that has armed security guards, but I'm even prouder to say that a year ago, we popped window panes out of every room. We put wall units in, and we have no windows open after somebody popped in through a first floor window. So I'm just urging the board to look into it. You could always reach out to me and I could do my best footwork in my own district to tell you how it was done. But again, you know, tonight we're sitting here, we're talking about security, and I have great things to say about all of you and the Sayville School District and the administrative team. But I worry with 2 6-year-old twins, again, with every door closed, that building's still not secure if all those windows have to be open. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, good evening. I'm a resident of Sayville. I have been my whole life. I have some concerns. I've had some concerns for quite a while now, and I'd like to address them. As a retired educator of 34 years, my concerns are that a sitting board member is abusing his position. He is attempting to use our students to further his so-called peace agenda. These students are entrusted to you and should never be allowed to be used to maintain and grow a personal platform. Jane Birch is doing just that. This man needs.
Excuse me. Guideline or rule is not the name.
Okay, I will scratch that name.
You already said it.
Well, I apologize. That's all I can do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
This board member is doing just that. This man needs to be monitored and, in my humble opinion, be removed from his position as a board member in the Sayville School District. His words, actions, and ideas are inexcusable. We live in a wonderful community. We are kind, caring, and peaceful people. Why do we need to join forces with other groups? We don't need to be placed under this board member's so-called peace umbrella. Our schools already have numerous clubs to foster kind and peaceful behavior. This board member's agenda will place all of us under a much larger umbrella of so-called peace, and we will be dictated to as to what to say and how to act. His agenda is quite frankly frightening. He is abusing his position, and you as a board are putting yourselves in a dangerous position by allowing his actions to continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Right in front.
Dr. Ferris Board, thank you everybody for your volunteer service and those that are employed in the district. We appreciate everything that's happening in Sayville. Our family enjoys the community, the school district, but there are a couple things that I feel it's necessary to bring to the attention of the board. First, there was a goal number 5 of the board for transparency. I think the board, if they don't know already, needs to be aware that the middle school currently hosts a session where English and social studies were put on the student schedules as individual classes in individual classrooms, and those 2 classes are co-joined and taught together. Further complexity is that that's actually inclusive co-teaching class where there are IEPs that have guidance for students who need reduced distraction, and yet they're in an environment with twice as many students as would be in a normal classroom. So there may not be anything legally wrong with it, but all the educational data shows that maximum class size 18 is obviously the most beneficial, and so to double it works only against that. The second part of that, so again, the parents, I implore all the parents to look at their children's schedules and actually find out if they're being doubled up, because I only found out from my daughter when I was dropping her off at Kiss and Tell, and she pointed up and said, that's where I sit for 2 hours straight. So again, transparency would be great. And if it is such a great practice, it should be shared and celebrated with the parents and perhaps even explain to them why. The second thing is that tomorrow will be the first day that the team handling a student's IEP will be meeting to discuss that student's modification. In writing, that information was provided to me, which means a student with an IEP has not received any of the required modifications that have been required according to that document. So currently, Sayville School District is in violation of both federal and state laws and not servicing that student accordingly from day one. I also implore all of the parents with children who have IEPs to look into it, because without digging and digging, the information would have never come to light. So I know, Dr. Ferris, we had a resolution meeting July 21st, and we were really excited as parents to move towards a point where we would go into this year receiving the services that our daughter was expected to get. And at this point, I don't know if I provided to you, but I have a due process request that I'd like to.
Start that on the district clerk.
Is that Julie? Is
That is Julie.
Okay. Due process request for an impartial hearing, which further explains that we are filing a request with the state for an audit of the district as well.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to speak?
Anybody else?
No, please.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I just want to make you aware of something. You all have your names in front of your seats, so your names can actually be named according to your elected officials. community members can't be teachers and all of that, but we can mean you, like I can say, hi, Tom. Or I could say, Tom, you decided this, we decided that last time, and I have a question for you. So for people to bring up James' name is absolutely appropriate, he is an elected official. Doug might want to look that up and confirm if I'm wrong. Let me know, okay? About the appointed board seat. I have 3 minutes, so I'm gonna be brutally honest, I think it's absolutely arrogant for you to decide who represents the community. It also does not give staff and their union an opportunity to give input. So you're leaving out staff, you're leaving out the community. We also know that appointing someone gives them a greater chance of winning at the next election. Incumbents invariably have a greater ability to win. It's unfair. And Christine is correct. By the time we get there, it's like a month. What was the point? Except now they have a benefit of winning. You very rarely split votes. Everything's yes, 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 yes. So I don't really see it becoming a problem. That's my opinion. I just think it's arrogant. It's rude. You all represent us. We should choose you. Okay. In your transparency, when you said that you're going to put the agenda minutes available a few days before, but we only do 24 hours before. So I don't know if you want to clarify that. I'd love for it to be 48 hours before, because I'm rushing the night before, I read your whole agenda. Also in your goals for inclusivity, there's a line that brings me back to your old policy on bullying, and it says free from discrimination, racism, and any kind of hatred. Hatred is a natural human emotion, and when people lie to me, I get really close to the line of hate over time that they can continue to lie. How I respond to that hate is up to me. How a child responds, hopefully up to a child's parents. If they are disruptive in the school, of course, there should be consequences. But I don't understand. Discrimination, racism is discrimination. So why isn't homophobia listed in here? Okay, why isn't age discrimination listed here? Why didn't we just end it with environment to all students free from discrimination? Why is the rest there? Now, if you don't have hate or no hate, you don't know love. If you don't know sadness, you don't have happiness. So this whole thing is it's very confusing to me what this is leading to and the purpose of it. Okay, and how we're molding children. Unless you're trying to say, well, there's a special kind of hatred in this district, which is called racism, which I think is a bunch of hogwash, frankly. So there was something else I want to discuss, and I can't remember what it was. Sorry, I'm not really feeling that well, but I hope that you will watch James for what he's done. He's abusing his seat, and I've realized he's probably been one previously, but the community knows, so we kind of hold you to that. Also, Dr. Ferris, quick question, maybe you can address. I understand she had 45 more seconds, by the way, the first speaker. So I'm going to say this quickly. I was told 400,000 was being transferred into the surplus. Now we have $1 million there. I understand, I estimated 50 million for AC, by the way. I understand how expensive it is, but there are things called split systems. And you might want to look into that for certain areas. They can use as dehumidifiers. They're much more cost effective as well. But I do not like you. We knew this extra $1 million was going in. Okay, so I know how finances work in the district. I know when you know, and I don't appreciate that we were told before we voted 400,000. That $1 million was up here. Okay, please be honest.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Okay, one more.
I'm sure.
Good evening. Okay, I've lived in Sayville since the 60s. I have kids and grandkids that have gone to school. But I have to say, to talk about that board member, which I won't mention his name. Okay.
Could we have your name, please?
Can you speak up, please?
I'm sorry.
We're working. We're trying to.
Okay, I'm talking about the same board member. I've been hearing from in this community for years, okay, regarding him and about his using his students to promote personal political agenda. There's board members on this board that I don't even hear anything negative about, okay? And there's other schools like Batewood, there's nothing negative about a board member. So I just feel that his abuse of power of his seat And nobody should be using children that we entrust in their care. I don't hear of any of the names on the Sayville School Board that is involved in using kids for their political agenda. You're doing your job, okay? And I feel that if there is a board member that's doing it, he should not be on the board, okay? He should be, if he's more involved in his political agenda, maybe he should leave the board and continue there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Amanda Mullen. I also have twin 6-year-olds, not Tim's twin 6-year-old. Well, I just introduced. We're going to the record, so graduating class 2035, we want more than. We have, we're pretty close. I think there's 8 sets in our grade. But I just wanted to give.
Recruit.
Yeah, we do have 8 sets. We have another crew. I just want to give something positive standing up here because last year was crazy. I came in as a kindergarten parent. There was a lot of switch in Lincoln. It's a world of difference. We're hearing such positive feedback. I am on the board of the PTA and these guys have made some really great changes already. And I just want to say thank you and thank you. Our dismissal, our pickup for walkers is like night and day. It used to be the doors would open and every kid would run out and you're like, wait, is mine even here? And it's organized and it feels safe and it's awesome. So I just wanted to put something positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did a good job.
Oh, we have a couple online. Go ahead.
We have one community member that is more of a comment than an actual question. It's she writes, I've asked for this previously, but I'd like to see the district hold a parent and administration security meeting to begin moving the conversation forward and hear all voices and then have a team assembled to address the issues.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go over response.
Any other questions?
Okay, so I'm just going to go over a couple responses where they are referring to Sylvia. Are you still there? Okay, great. So why don't we talk tomorrow? Because I think there's going to be some collaboration and some clarification we can work through. We looked at in 2012, there was a referendum on the budget to expand busing, and there's a whole process in went through. So we can look at that as a model and then talk about what that would move forward. I can't guarantee that the results you want will happen, but I can show you the process. Hold on. I gotta be able to read my own hand. Okay, thank you, Tim, for your comments about security. And we are redesigning or have redesigned, thanks to Rhonda, our security and safety team, and that kind of also speaks to the online question, which is we now will have a variety of people on the team that haven't been on the team before that meets on a district matter, including parents. Is that correct?
Yes, we do have a parent member that I reached out to. I was provided the name. And also tomorrow morning, I am meeting with the new safety consultant from BOCES that we are engaging.
Yeah, so we will reach out to certainly anyone who's interested in giving us more information as we have these meetings, and we can be invited to attend and provide information. But then that committee group will kind of move forward with whatever plans we continue to initiate. So thank you for the comments there.
Thank you.
Fine. I'm happy to meet with you anytime or talk to you about any of the concerns you have about middle school or any experiences. And please either call me or call the building principal or the special ed director.
Communication, thank you.
So,
I just want the board.
Yeah, I understand, and I'll fill them in on the around that as well. Okay. Phil, I hope you don't hate me. I don't hate you. Well, I'm responding to you. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So in terms of the bond, what we do is for the reserves. So we estimate our fund balance in May about what we think we're going to have at the end of the year. And then sometimes we have a little bit more and sometimes we have a little bit less. But then we also do an analysis of our reserves. So no more money was placed into reserves than choose to not place certain money in some reserves that didn't need it. So for example, and I think Rhonda can speak to this, our TRS or our ERS, because of the higher interest rates, made like $250,000 in interest. So that reserve needed less money. So then we took the money that we didn't put into that reserve and we decided and proposed to the board putting it into the capital reserve. So there was no more monies used. It was just a decision that was made in July of, okay, so we got a lot more interest than we had planned because interest rates went up in some reserves. And so we took money that was planned for one reserve and we said, you know what, that reserve is kind of high right now. Let's put it in the other reserve and give it a bit more of a boost. It's still never going to go. It was above the 10 million mark that was voted on by the voters.
But the.
It's not a conversation. If you want to talk more about it, I'm happy to start.
Am I right though?
It's all for capital projects.
Right, so that can't be applied
So
it can't be applied to next year's increase.
it has nothing to do with next year. So we'll talk about
Exactly.
that.
So that money now set aside instead of being applied.
No,
Okay.
we'll talk, if you want to talk about it, I'll be happy to talk to you on the
No.
phone or in the office. But I'm just explaining how at the end of the year, we're not having a conversation, I'm just reporting out to the answer, so. But the idea is, at the end of a year, you have a certain amount of money, you return some to the taxpayers, we gave $2.8 million back to the taxpayers for the following year's budget. And then the remaining amount you have to put in a reserve of some type, because you can't just have money. So basically, there was not more money, there was simply a reallocation of money to a fund. We have 5 or 6 reserves. We added the capital reserve. We used money in some reserves. We said, okay, these reserves are kind of full right now. Not full because they can't ever be full, but adequate. And then we took the money that was planned for one reserve and put it in difference.
And we have to spend $2.7 million more.
We still have a reserve of about 3.6%. It is exactly below the 4% recommendation of New York State. Moving along, in terms of hate speech is unacceptable. I'm gonna make a comment. And I'm not gonna really have this is not an opinion. This is not a political statement. This is a fact. Racism, discrimination, and hate speech is unacceptable in our schools and not allowed, period. And that's what we're saying in that fact that we do not allow prejudice, we do not allow discrimination, and we do not allow hate. Ironically, you said to me last time we had a policy discussion, why are you not saying all types of people? Why are you only saying homosexual people? And now you're saying, why aren't you saying homosexual people? So I feel like it's kind of a double-edged conversation we've been kind of looping around. The answer is hatred and hate speech and discrimination is unacceptable in our schools, period. And then we're not discussing it, we're just going to move on to the next topic. In terms of board members, I'll just speak in general terms. No board members have students other than their own children. So our teachers have students, our administrators have students in their care, and none of the board members have any students. And the board and or the district does not, affiliate with political organizations. So I'll just move on from that. And I think that kind of covers, oh, and Amanda, thank you for your kind comments. And we're always open to both criticism when it's due and
Usually, I'm
yeah.
critical.
And you know what? But I want to think that most of the criticism we receive can be turned into a production
Yeah.
of something and create some. And that security meeting last year that we had, where you gave us some constructive criticism as well
And you
as,
saw changes.
and we put some things in place then, but we also added the additional guards to the elementary school. So there's 2 guards, one to the front, one to walk the building and perimeter. That's new. We added a guard at the middle school. We added a roaming vehicle. So half the district, Sunrise, Lincoln, and the middle school has 1 roaming car, and then Cherry and high school have the other roaming car. And it's really made a difference in our ability to respond and to keep things kind of under our eyes. We also put the camera project in place and we have inside cameras now throughout the entire district. And the door thing was a real problem last year. And that seems to right now at least be eliminated, and we're going to continue with that. So
Now we're gonna work on the window.
yeah, so now we got the doors closed. If I closed those windows on Thursday, we would have had a mutiny because it was about 90 degrees.
Yeah.
But we do have to work on that. And we couldn't find it.
And I just want to add,
Yeah.
with the question about the windows, because you mentioned it earlier, it's not a question of having additional air conditioning units. It's the electrical grid that we have at these old schools. We cannot add, a countless number of individual air conditioners because the system won't be able to handle it.
And
That's what's difficult about the short term.
We can do it, we just have to be willing to pay for it.
Okay, so as an example, about 4 years ago, we upgraded Sunrise Drive School with an electrical panel that can kind of hold that kind of capacity. One of the reasons was we had a lot of special education students who required air conditioning in their IEPs, so we had to kind of make that possible. That upgrade at just Sunrise Drive was over, I think, $500,000. So, and that's a small school. So the high school, double, triple the size. And the middle school was a building that was built in a certain way where we can't even put in window air conditioning because the windows are too big. So you have to use the split units. So at the middle school, we actually do have split units. And they're quite expensive. It's $2,500 for 1 unit plus $2,500 to install the stuff that goes into the wall to get outside. So you're talking about $5,000 per unit, and it has a significant draw on the electrical pole. So it's not. It sounds like just put some window air conditioners in, or just put some split units in, and you can do it one classroom at a time. It's an infrastructure piece, an electrical piece, and also the cost of all of that. So there are ways we are alleviating it through having some spaces air conditioning to rotate people through, but not every space at this point. And yeah, 35 million is like a ballpark. It could be 40. I just don't know.
So I would just like to say, Amanda, Sewell, Tim, you are a wonderful example of community members who have a problem or have a concern in our community, and you come here with a possible solution or asking for help and talk to us. That's our job, to listen to you and work together. So I would like to commend all of you and say thank you for coming here and speaking civilly to us and giving us ideas, volunteering to work out a solution, because that's what we want to do. We want to work together with everybody in the community and try to come to a solution for different concerns and different problems. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
said, Carol.
Yeah, and we're just community members, just like you. We have the same concern.
Okay.
Can we just, I believe there was a comment made about the city of Peace.
Yeah.
Could we just be clear that that's not an issue for us?
Right. The Bigel schools have nothing to do with that, and I don't think anyone has asked to do anything with that, and we're not going to do that.
Many,
Thank you.
We're at-
it was 2 or 3 years.
Okay,
No, yeah.
so, we'll close the public comment, portion, and then we'll move on to, okay, 5.01. I need a motion to 519. Motion,
Second.
second. Discussion? All those in favor? Yes. Did I need a motion for 601 through? I guess you can come all the way to 904. So volume up also. Oh, sorry. I need a motion for 7.01. Well, which one you call?
3.02.
Okay, 8.01.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor? Okay. Well, 802 separately, any motions?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
I'm abstaining.
All those in favor?
Oh, she's abstaining. Do we have enough votes? Can we table?
Which one is that?
802. Sorry.
No, I know, you're right.
I know. Doug, if we don't have enough, if Kelly abstains, we don't have enough votes. Can we table?
We have 3.
We'll put it on, which one is that?
802.
Table it, you'd have to vote on it at the same meeting, so you're just moving it forward there.
Okay, do we have to vote to remove it from the agenda?
That schedule specifically then, or that item from that schedule?
Do we have one item?
Instead of everything else.
Okay, yes. Can we remove
You
one?
can remove one item for a separate vote and ultimately you vote to remove that item.
I'll tell you which item. Give me 1 second.
It's about. It's the last one. right?
It's the second to last one. Do you need the number?
Yeah, what's the number?
Schedule
4643.
no, 4644.
Okay.
All right, so we have to make a motion to remove that? Is that what has to happen?
So. we
So
need a
you
motion.
make you wouldn't need a motion, you just ask that that item be removed from the personnel agenda for a separate vote. and then you vote on the agenda, on that schedule without that item.
Okay, I'm asking for that.
Right, and then what you do is, instead of taking a vote on that item, you would vote to remove it from the agenda.
Okay, I think I just.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
We're doing that.
So we're voting that we want to remove item 4644 from the agenda, table on that. item.
We're
Right,
not
yeah,
tabling it, we're just.
not tabling
Yeah.
it, you're removing it from the agenda, but that's only.
Could I
your-
just
your
hear
first-
Peter
you have
for a
a-
minute?
So you're voting on that schedule en masse, right?
Yeah.
So what when one of the board members asks to remove one of those items from that schedule for a separate vote, that's what you're doing first.
Okay.
Okay, then with respect to that item, someone's going to make a motion to remove from the agenda. After you vote on the schedule.
Okay.
Okay, so take it off first.
Let me hear your explanation.
Yeah, could you put the mic on, because people in the
Put it all
public.
over
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so what you're gonna do, and so everyone can hear me. So you're voting on a schedule, personnel schedule and max, right? So any board member at any point can ask that a particular item be removed from that schedule for a separate vote. Right, as opposed to voting on each one individually. So that item is so that request has been made by Kelly. That item is now removed from that schedule. Now you can make a motion to vote on the schedule absent that item.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
and then you're going to vote separately on that item. However, I understand there's going to be a vote to remove that from the agenda. Correct? Okay, so then someone will make that motion. So it'll be pulled from the agenda and voted on at another meeting.
Okay, Dr. Brenscombe, did you want to say something?
If I could, it's obviously it's public schedule and other questions in the spirit of transparency. If you don't mind me sharing what the concern is.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, there's one of the schedules has, Kelly's daughter on it for a lifeguard position, which we have many of our family members and community members as lifeguards. So because we have a quorum, and we have an abstention from that vote because Kelly's doing the right thing and abstaining from that vote, it leaves us with only 3 voting board members to vote on that item, which would not meet the criteria for us to actually approve it. So that's why we're taking it. So a little transparency. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's the fairest thing to do.
Yes.
and another reason I'm board member. Seven.
And life goes.
Okay, so, we have the motion.
With the motion to remove it.
To remove.
And the motion to
You have to
remove.
vote on that first.
Okay.
You vote on the schedule first. You've already removed that item. from the
Okay,
schedule.
let me start over again. We're gonna do a motion for 801 to 803. Need a motion,
Motion.
right?
Motion.
Okay, and then we had she wants to remove 4644, so,
Right, so you make a note of that for the record.
okay, so we have a motion to remove 4644 from the motion.
Motion.
Okay,
Second.
second, all in favor? Okay. And now, we can now,
With respect to items. such-
801 to 804 without that schedule 4644, now,
Second motion.
motion. Second, all those in favor?
I'm sorry.
803.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, all in favor.
All in favor? Okay, that passes.
Yes.
Mhm.
And now,
A
the
motion.
other table, do we need? to-
No, wait.
Not
Not table.
That's-
We're motioning to remove that piece from the agenda, or I think it's
For
for
a later vote.
Now we need a motion for that.
You're just gonna- It's just a motion to remove from the agenda.
Okay.
Pull from the agenda.
So we need that.
Motion to
Yeah,
remove it.
that
Motion.
Second. Well, Robert's rules, I love the existing.
All those in favor, everybody voted in favor,
Yeah.
motion passed.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Sorry to be difficult.
no
You
problem.
are just doing the right thing.
Okay, now let's do an each one, motion 901 to 904, need a motion,
Motion.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Great.
I forget about the second.
I did it.
Yeah, I know.
Just raise my hand.
Okay, upcoming dates, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have Rosh Hashanah on September 15, 17. Then we have September 30th, the third annual call run. On October 5th, we have the Board of Education workshop. On October 11th, we have the audit committee and also the Board of Education meeting. Okay. And then I need a motion. To move into executive session to receive legal advice concerning on the investigation of a parent complaint. As well as advice from staff complaint received by the board. Motion,
Second.
all those in favor?
What if I wasn't a fit?
Now, I never-
You can make us sit here all night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry for that.